Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your Capricorn April 2022 reading and predictions. It's great to see you, I've done a lot of readings, clairvoyant readings for Capricorns over the last month, and if you'd like to have a one-on-one clairvoyant reading with me, just check out the information that's in the description box below. It's been fascinating to get to know some of you. Now look, this month we're going to use the Sacred India tarot deck. Very hard to come across. I got it when it first came out years ago. I shuffle, as you can see, cards overhand like this. Why, you may ask? Because I don't want to wreck the cards. That's why. So I don't do all the riffle shuffling and bending because not only do I use them, but when clients are using cards as well, I actually ask them not to riffle and shuffle so it doesn't wreck the cards. Because it's interesting that I like to have my decks I don't like to replace any deck because it builds up energy from all the different people who've used it and for whom readings have been used if done remotely. Say, for example, if I were to do one with you over Skype or FaceTime or WhatsApp, whatever it may be. And so I do this. But this is a Hindu-themed deck. I've been a student of Hindu theology and philosophy for decades now. I love it. I'm not a Hindu myself, but beautiful theology. Actually, not many people outside of the Hindu religion and community know that Hinduism is actually a monotheistic religion. That is, there is one supreme God. And all the other thousands and thousands and thousands of gods and goddesses that you see, they are, if you like, avatars or sides of, or an aspect of one aspect of the Supreme Being. Anyway, that having been said, let's get them underway and see what there is here. I'm excited to be doing this. There's a Seven of Staves. I'm excited. The Knight of Arrows. The Two of Lotuses. The Two of Discs. Where's somewhere that looks like it's relatively undisturbed? This does, I suppose. Hard to say, really. And there's the Six of Lotuses. Gee, so you'll get what I'm talking about when we get into this in just a second. So come on down now. We'll get into it. We'll have a good close look at the cards together while I do your reading for you. Now, I think first we'll look at this Two of Discs and see what it has to say. The Lord of Harmonious Change is really what it is. But let's have a look at the imagery that's on the card for a start here now. The noble sage, Asita, had wept when he beheld the baby Siddhartha. Now Siddhartha, of course, goes on to be Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, right? Now, to the anxious king, he explained that this is Asita saying that he's bewailing his own ill fortune, for he would never live to witness the prince perform his mighty deeds, either as a great king or as a world saviour. Now, this royal parent was most displeased at this spiritual option being repeatedly assigned to his prince, and he embarked upon an experiment that's actually terrible to contemplate even today, let alone some 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. He decreed that a magnificent walled city be created, and the prince grow up in it, secluded from all pain, suffering, and misery, and from even the knowledge that such things existed was forbidden. He also kept the young man in a suffocating embrace of never-ceasing pleasure and amusements. And he did take care to arrange his education in matters of politics and the military. But anyway, the child was obviously divinely constituted, for he emerged from this ghastly pleasure prison as a person of great accomplishment, as we know, because he goes on to be remembered even today. Now, let's see what else is important here. The astrology is important, I think, and it is Jupiter ruling the first decan of Capricorn. Yay! Now, although this might seem to be inharmonious because Jupiter is, as you know, all about expansion, drinking, frivolity, among other things, of course. It's the great benefic. And Capricorn, it has to say, is to some degree about conservatism and certainly practicality. But that apparent conflict in the astrology doesn't matter, I don't think, because this 2 here, which also has Jupiter associated with it as well, mystically for me, the only card ahead of this 2 of discs would be the ace, and so there's no great problem there. So I see for you at this time movement, flux, having some ups and downs, growth through change. I see you doing a lot of multitasking, doing a lot of things at once and in parallel with each other, a heavy workload, but you will be enjoying your work, that's the thing. And I think maybe a welcome change is going to come along, which is going to move you into a better phase in your life. Change is always necessary when the old falls out of equilibrium. Changes wake you up, shake you up. But there's a sense here that you need to go with the flow in your life and trust in the process of change so that you might find harmony and balance. Constant changes in fortune can make this difficult when you're trying to get something off the ground, but there's nothing materially or financially set in stone at the moment, so there's no problems. Your life is. This is also a card of good management of your practical affairs and finances. Now, I know it might sound like a bit of a drag, but getting on top of your personal bills and getting chores done is, sadly, just as important as pursuing more enjoyable activities. Your life is subject to a constant change which allows you to grow, extending and expanding you, ultimately enriching you. Give yourself up to the transformation with trust. What internal or external changes are going on in your life? And say this to yourself. Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. I trust in the harmony of my life and in the flow of my life. Now we'll have a look next, I think, at, well, let me get this out of the way, and let's have a look at this central card that's here. This is really the destiny of Parvati. Well, what's going on in this scene here? Well, this guy here, Narada, he is a celestial sage, and he's come to visit Hamavan, who is the divine personification of the Himalayas, or the Himalayas, as some people pronounce it, that mountain range that's beside Tibet and Nepal. Now, that mountain range is also the abode of Shiva. Shiva, you may recall, is a very important god in the Hindu pantheon and a part of the Trinity, Brahma being the creator god, Vishnu the sustaining god, and Shiva the destroyer, the changer, the one who brings about change. Now, what's happened here is that the young woman Parvati comes before him and says, now Parvati, well, let me just say this. She is concerned about the family that she has been born into and throws herself at the feet of Narada. And Narada proclaims that it is her destiny, and it is an awesome destiny, to marry Shiva himself. This proclamation is actually a sort of spiritual initiation. Now, what we have here is the astrology of Venus in the first decan of Cancer, 21st of June to the 1st of July. Now, this exemplifies the benefit of you having drawn this card, because Venus is the most receptive of planets, and she is she not, among other things, the planet of relationship, creativity, beauty, and love. And Cancer is the most receptive of signs, that of nurturing, comfort, support, and healing. So I see here for you receptive love, happy relationships, emotional exchange. Do you know, if you love yourself, you are attractive to others. Your receptiveness towards yourself prepares you to give yourself totally to someone. Now, deep emotional exchange is possible here, a giving and receiving of overflowing love. The union occurs in complete harmony, as symbolized by the harmony of this beautiful scene that we see in front of us here. So I see close bonds, togetherness, love, harmony, and a relationship that is strengthening, a mutual love and respect. Now I have to say that you will also hear at this time of marriage. The beginning of harmonious relationships is inevitable. Now that doesn't just mean romantic relationships, but it can also mean customer relationships. I think sales people are going to benefit from this energy here as well. It can mean good work relationships. It can mean good social relationships and friendships. There is a love here that is both special and equal, and you'll be able to give and receive love in equal measure. With which persons and in which surroundings can you now share your love? Pay attention to the love coming to you now. Remain open and let it enter you and go deep inside. And say to yourself, there is nothing to do but enjoy what life offers. I am now ready to let into my life the love relationships that fulfill me. We may as well then look at this 6 of lotuses. Oh, this is the same girl, and it's the same sort of theme. Here she is again, Parvati. Now, what's happening to her at the moment? Well, she's not married to Shiva at this point, but Parvati decides to win Shiva's love by using his own skills. Now, her beauty, in a backstory, had failed to move him except momentarily, and that only made the situation deteriorate, so he's kind of gone off her. Now, Shiva, however, cannot resist the penance and spiritual merit of a bhakta, that is, of a great meditation. If her beauty will not suffice, she will accumulate so much spiritual merit that the reward will be his offer of marriage. Now, only in India, I suppose, is it possible to dictate terms to God in this way. Now, the process is called a tapasya, and it is a grueling series of spiritual practices that literally sears away the negative karma obstructing your goal. Parvati performs the most intense tapasya known to gods or men. Now, her discomforted mother thinks it is childishness and petulance, but is actually a level of trust, love, and a breathtaking confidence possible only for children. Now, even the Jesus said, you might recall, "Except ye become as little children, ye shall not enter the kingdom of heaven." But following on from that 2 of lotuses that's there, looks like something is developing here for you, because this is the sun ruling the 2nd decan of Scorpio, 3rd to the 12th of November. Now, we have in the number 6 here, I think, also the sun as well. Mystically, I have the sun associated with the number 6. So you have a double sun, as the sun rules both the astrology, the sun in Scorpio, and it's also there in the numerology. And a double sun reveals what Scorpio wants to hide. I think what we have here is pleasure, indulgence, sexual pleasure. Now, this may be sexual pleasure, which is just something that you fantasize about, and there's nothing wrong with that. Excitement, communication with ancestors, family support. But the pleasure here is a kind of pleasure which is completely harmonized. Now, the zodiacal sign governing this energy for me being Scorpio, well, pleasure here is rooted in its most convenient soil, isn't it? This is a preeminently fertile card, and really, I've got to say, it is probably one of the best in the deck. This card is an invitation to give yourself up to the richness of your own emotionality. Now, you may experience this as a jump into water, as the tingling anticipation of diving deeply, of disappearing, of letting go. Rising to the surface, you are refreshed. This is the process of death and rebirth. The result of taking the risk is deep emotional purification and renewal. But there is a pleasure here, and probably a pleasure that has come about after much hardship in the past. And I do get the feeling, because this is such a benign scene here, that you may be going through a period of healing and transformation. The emphasis decidedly, though, is that of a relationship, or the desire to have a relationship that will improve both the individuals, where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So enjoy now all of which life gives you. This is the best way to express your gratitude. Are you holding on to old beliefs which prevent your enjoyment of pleasure? Enjoy your own emotional wealth and share it with someone. And say this to yourself: I am now open to a partner with whom I can share the joys of love on all levels. But I suppose every day is not all blue skies, and sometimes you need to dig deep into things. And in fact, that is really, I think, what this is saying here. Now, the backstory to this is a woman called Sita. She's the wife of Rama, the god Rama, and she was kidnapped by a guy called, what was his name? Ravana, who was the king of what is today Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is just in a straight line south of India. It's about 880 miles or 1,400 kilometers away. Now, she was kidnapped, and the question was her chastity kept intact during that period? Because it was about a 14-year period for her husband to be able to have a walled bridge built across that huge amount, that expanse of ocean, in order to go and get her with his army. Now, Sita, or Sita rather, I think has been rescued. Now, in the ensuing celebrations over this fact, as well as over Ravana's death, because he died part of the war, one awful unspoken question hovers, raptor-like, over the minds of all. Did Ravana forcibly molest her, or did he not? Now, actually, he could not have done, because his nephew, who hated Ravana's lustful ways, had cursed him with instant death if he ever attempted to rape again. But Ravana had managed to hush this curse up, so nobody knew about it. Now, Rama, that is Sita's husband, knows that there's going to be no end to speculation, insinuation, slander, malice if this isn't tackled promptly. So he harrows Sita by giving voice to the collective suspicion. Ravana could never have been so self-controlled. Now, provoked beyond endurance, Sita orders Lakshmana, who actually was Rama's younger brother, to arrange a funeral pyre. You know how they do cremations in India on the side of the Ganges and elsewhere? Well, to arrange a funeral pyre for her, as life without dignity is worthless. Now, as the appalled audience watches this awe-inspiring act of courage, a living Sita seated amongst the flames, well, the gods intervene. Agni, god of fire, rises from the flames with an unscathed Sita and remonstrates with Rama for his conduct. And Rama kind of admits he manipulated matters to be like this, so that a public and miraculous vindication of Sitar would silence all loose talk forever. And the issue, in a way, is, in the story, resolved, but only for now, because it builds up again, but that is another story. Now, the astrology here is Mars in the, what would it be, the third decan of Leo, and we have a number 7 here. Mystically, I have Venus associated with that. So this far down in the 7, the fire energy is weakened. And I guess the strength of the fire is diluted by the feminine energy of Venus. And the fact that Mars has come into Leo, well, Mars and Venus don't get on each other. Look, Mars normally likes Leo, but in this case, as I say, being so far down in the suit, that astrological harmony doesn't exist. And the feminine energy and the masculine energy of Mars together, they're not working out. But you might think that there is a time during the month where you feel it is only your Mars energy that is keeping you going about something. This number 7 also talks about introspection, re-examination, choices, responsibility, secrets, and regaining control. Now, Mars in Leo usually indicates someone with an authority and power, but in this card, they have to dig deep. So you're going to have to dig deep in relation to something and use all your resources in what could be seen as being quite a difficult situation. Or you could lose focus and run around in desperation about how to act. I fear that there is a time when you might feel that you're losing the battle, or that you're sitting on a sinking ship. Maybe you feel that you haven't been dealt the best hand here, and even things in the background don't seem to be going well for you, but they are. They are going to do. You see, compromises really are out of the question now. They would require a denial of your own inner reality. It is time for you to stand your ground and to remain true to your energies unconditionally. So being true to yourself includes standing up for your own truth, even in the face of immense resistance. Trust your power. In this present situation, you must assert yourself at all costs. Are you ready to accept all the consequences? Become aware of whatever fears have prevented you until now from asserting yourself. And say this to yourself: I express my own reality openly and honestly. It takes us, I think, to the final one. Is it the final one? I think it is, yeah. Gee, I'm getting a lot of Aquarius around here. I think Aquarius is going to be important to you. Let's see what there is in store, shall we? Well, what is this image to do with? Well, here we have Hanuman, son of Vayu, the wind god. Now, as a young boy, he was just uncontrollable, but he grew up to become the example of self-restraint, wisdom, and judicious application of strength. He has supreme supernatural powers, but his greatest asset is his good mind, just like you. He is the ideal devotee of Rama. Rama, of course, we saw before. Rama actually is the 7th incarnation of the god Vishnu. Brahma, creator god; Vishnu, preserver god; Shiva, destroyer, renewer, creation. Trinities abound everywhere in spiritual literature, as you would be aware. Now, Hanuman is an incarnation of Shiva in his Rudra aspect. Storms and lightning herald his approach to humanity. Now, he is not a monkey, but he's from a mythical race, which have a very good culture and civilization. Hanuman is worshipped as the savior from troubles, knowing full well the problems that people's whims and willfulness can get them in. And Hanuman compassionately forgives and aids people. The flag of victory signifies his invincibility. Look at these symbols now. The arrow symbolizes his unerring and penetrative insight into all situations. The axe compassionately cuts away the tree of delusion. Now the conch, that shell that he's holding, that represents prana, the vital breath which he has mastered. The flower is the self surrendered at the feet of God. Now one hand is hidden, as I assume we may never presume to know all about immortal beings. This can be male or female, but it is somebody who is intellectual at this time, or that you come across full of ideas and plans, very clever but possibly unstable. Someone who can be domineering, elusive, and impressionable. A lot of creative thinking coming with you at this moment, cutting through all entanglements and becoming free of limited ideas and models. You are going to have a clear perception. You'll be a master of, or a mistress of, creative ideas, thinking and planning. But a prerequisite for being able to think creatively is unrestricted freedom. That the creative thought process can't tolerate being limited in any way. What's important is that you do make sure, though, that these good ideas that you have are able to be made tangible, because I have a sense here of ideas tripping over ideas, and you moving from idea to the next idea to the next idea, any one of which you may think is just as good as any other. But really what you need to do is focus, so that you sit down on something, turn it into a reality, and then go on to the next one. People, I think, might find it difficult to keep up with you intellectually during this time. There might be the need for you to slow down and analyze your thoughts to see if something practical can be gained from them, Look, this is a time when you should free yourself from whatever limits your mind and spirit. Be sure you express your ideas and plans in ways that other people will understand and accept their opinions humbly. Your thinking may be way ahead of its time, but you can adjust to make your vision workable in the present without sacrificing anything. What beliefs, feelings, relationships, or programmed ideas do you allow to limit you? And you should say to yourself at this time, my creative possibilities have no limits, but I will make them grounded. That's the way it is for you this month. Well, thanks for joining me. It's been really great to see you, and I loved sitting down with you and doing that reading for you. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed providing it to you. And isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting, all that stuff? Well, remember one thing, of course, and that is this, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.